Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is the Bodega Cat Book Club Health Edition. And today we're continuing our reading of Your Body's Many Cries for Water by Dr. B. I call him Dr. B because I don't know how to pronounce his name. I suppose I could call him Dr. Batman because he's got the word Batman in there. But, anyways, he is a medical doctor. And the subtitle is called You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. Don't treat thirst with medication. All right, so this book was inspired by fundamentals. Water is one of the building blocks of this life here on Earth. The other building blocks are fire, air, earth, and if you want to consider ether as the fifth element, some people consider ether as the fifth element. So these are the building blocks that create our Earth, our physical Earth, and water is a big part of it. So before we begin, I'm just going to do a quick plug and then we're just going to dive right in. If you like our format, if you like our book clubs, you could consider joining us in our other book clubs. We have a spiritual book club on Monday where we read spiritual books, and Thursdays we read financial books. And incidentally, we are starting a new book very soon for the spiritual book club, which is on Monday. And so I hope you can join us there and sign up for our newsletter so you can get notification, or better yet, you could go to our YouTube channel where we have all our books that we've read in the past, as well as current books that we're reading, and our podcasts and things like that on our YouTube channel. So please go there and subscribe and share and all that good stuff and yeah, and also the notification thingy too. So when we have new books coming out, you can get notified that hey, we're reading a new book. So anyways, you could uh something to think about. If you have books that you want us to read, that you want to recommend us to read, I'll leave a link in the description box below. And it can be for the spiritual, for spiritual books or health books or financial books that you think it might be helpful for educational purposes, I'll leave a link in the description box below and you can recommend it, and we'd love to consider it. We like to read books that have been around for a while because, in my opinion, they contain a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, and they have stood the test of time, so they have some truth in it. I say some truth because we don't I don't know if we're going to know the whole truth with a capital T, but we can learn about the little truths, right? Anyways, so I hope you consider that and give us your recommendations. And what else we got here? Like I said, we have a monthly newsletter that we put out. You could sign up on our website. It's free. And also we have podcasts as well. So there are dedicated links to the newsletters and the podcasts in our website that you can check out. And if you like what we're doing, and if you want to support us, I would appreciate it very, very much. Um, you could do that by buying me a coffee or check out our merch. We have many designs for both animals, cats and dogs, and humans. And then the holiday seasons are coming up. So we have holiday merch coming up too. So please check us out. And we have new designs every month. So come back often and support us that way. We'd appreciate it. And then lastly, if you are local in the Los Angeles area, come or traveling, on vacation or, for business or pleasure or whatever in the LA area, come visit us in person. We have a healing center that we have technologies based on Nikola Tesla's scalar wave research for holistic healing for both animals, cats and dogs, as well as humans. So check us out there. We have all the information on our website as well as um, uh, other services that we provide on our website as well. So please come and check us out, sign up for our newsletters, keep in touch, and that's it. So let's dive in. This is Your Body's Many Cries for Water, and this will be chapter 10. All right. This is a very interesting book. I hope you're enjoying this. Okay, let's go for it. Chapter 10, Some Metabolic Aspects of Stress and Dehydration. I firmly believe that if the entire, uh, sorry, I firmly believe that if the entire materia medica as now used could be sunk to the bottom of the sea, it would be all the better for mankind and all the worse for the fishes. Oliver Wendell Holmes. Insulin dependent diabetes. Ah, so this looks like this chapter is for you diabetic people out there. Okay, basically there are two types of diabetes. For the treatment of one, insulin is needed because the pancreas no longer manufactures insulin. This type is called insulin-dependent diabetes. For the treatment of the other, chemicals are needed that can gradually release insulin from the pancreas so the diabetic can control the clinical symptoms. This type is called insulin-independent diabetes. The pancreas still has the ability to manufacture insulin. Insulin independent diabetes, which establishes in the elderly and is regulated by medication in tablet form, is probably the end result of brain water deficiency to the point that its systems, particularly the serotonergic system, are affected. The physiology of the brain is such that it automatically begins to peg up, peg up the glucose threshold so that it can maintain its own volume and energy requirements. The brain needs glucose for its energy value and its metabolic conversion to water. The prevalent consensus, oops, of opinion is that the bulk of energy requirement in the brain is provided by sugar alone. My personal view is that this is only the case if there is water and salt shortage in the body. Water and salt are probably essential for the generation of hydroelectric energy, particularly for neurotransmission mechanisms. The reason and the mechanism for altering blood sugar levels are quite simple. When histamine becomes active in water regulation and energy management, it also activates a group of substances known as prostaglandins. Prostaglandins are involved in a subordinate system for rationed distribution of water to the cells in the body. It happens that the pancreas, a complex gland located between the stomach and the duodenum, or duodenum, however you want to pronounce that, in addition to being the seat of insulin manufacture, is engaged in producing copious quantities of a watery bicarbonate solution. This solution is emptied into the duodenum, or duodenum, to neutralize acid from the stomach, while the stimulating agent prostaglandin E is involved in shunting circulation to the pancreas so that the watery bicarbonate solution can be made. At the same time, it naturally inhibits the secretion of insulin from the pancreas. It acts like a tightly operated servo mechanism. The more one system has to be served, the more the other system will be decommissioned. Why? Simply, insulin promotes the movement of potassium and sugar into the cells of the body. It also promotes the entry of some amino acids into cells. Accompanying the passage of sugar, potassium, and amino acids, water will also pass into the cell that has been stimulated by insulin. Such action will automatically reduce the available water that is more easily accessible from outside the cells. In a dehydrated state, the action of insulin would be counterproductive. The logic employed in the design of the body has therefore installed the two actions of water distribution to the pancreas and the needed inhibition of insulin action in the same agent, prostaglandin E. In this way, and at the expense of severe deprivation of some cells, water is made available for the act of food digestion and acid neutralization in the intestines. When insulin secretion is inhibited, the metabolism of the body, except for the brain, is severely disrupted. In a dehydrated state, the brain benefits from insulin inhibition. The brain cell itself is not dependent on insulin for its functions. The cells in most other parts of the body are totally dependent on the properties of insulin for their normal function. If we think about it, there is a natural logic to the ultimate production of insulin-independent diabetes in severe chronic dehydration. Why is it called insulin independent diabetes? Because the body can still manufacture insulin, although it takes the influence of some chemical agents to promote its secretion. This phenomenon of insulin inhibition with dehydration shows that the primary function of the pancreatic gland is directed at the provision of water for food digestion. Insulin inhibition is an adaptation process of the gland to the dehydration of the body. Tryptophan and diabetes. Even the simplest explanation on tryptophan may seem too complicated. However, some very basic understanding about this amino acid must be provided to make sense of some of the statements in this book. Another point to remember is that the body is a very complex chemical plant that is extremely sensitive to fluctuations in the flow of its primary raw materials. The brain is designed to resuscitate itself when there is water and salt shortage in the body. It raises the level of sugar in circulation. The raised level of sugar is supposed to balance the vital osmotic equilibrium in the same way that a doctor resuscitates a patient by using sugar and salt containing intravenous fluid drops. One also needs to recognize another simple point. Osmotic forces that must be available for extracellular fluid volume regulation are developed primarily by salt content, by raised sugar content, and sometimes by increased uric acid content. But in insulin-dependent diabetes, there may be severe salt shortage, in which case the brain has no alternative but to raise the level of sugar even more to compensate for the low salt reserves in the body. The process is an automatic step in the design of the brain activity that is master managed by the various direct and indirect functions of tryptophan. It has also been shown that tryptophan is the basic substance that the body needs as a vital ingredient to convert into the 3 or even 4 most essential neurotransmitters so far recognized. In the insulin-independent diabetes, one needs to pay particular attention to adequate protein intake to make up for the possible tryptophan insufficiency that may be the root cause of the disease. Why? It seems that dehydration causes a severe depletion of brain tryptophan, a most essential amino acid in the human body. When there is an adequate amount of tryptophan in the brain, among its other effects, the pain threshold is raised. One endures pain better. Some diabetic animals have shown great drops of tryptophan levels in their brain. To stress this point again, salt, sugar, and uric acid are involved in balancing the osmotic forces of fluid composition held outside the cells. Salt content is responsible for the greatest contribution of the let's do that again. Salt content is responsible for the greatest contribution to the extracellular osmotic balance. The regulatory properties of tryptophan itself or its dependent neurotransmission systems operate a measuring mechanism for the amount of salt kept in the body. Serotonin, tryptamine, melatonin, and indolamine are derived from tryptophan. All are neurotransmitters. Thus, tryptophan is the natural brain regulator for salt absorption in the body. It seems that lower levels of tryptophan and, in consequence, its neurotransmitter products will establish lower than normal salt reserves. As a backup mechanism in the body, the renin-angiotensin RA system seems to compensate by inducing salt retention in the body. Histamine and its RA system actively become increasingly engaged if the tryptophan-dependent neurotransmitter systems become less involved through shortage or increased breakdown of tryptophan. It follows that a low salt diet is not conducive to the correction of a diabetic high blood sugar. If the blood sugar is to come down, a slight upward adjustment of daily salt intake may become unavoidable. Tryptophan is also a prominent amino acid employed in the correction of errors in the process of DNA replica production. With another amino acid, lysine, they form a bridging system, lysine tryptophan lysine tripod, that cuts and splices the inaccuracies in DNA transcription. This property of tryptophan is essential to the prevention of cancer cell development in the body. With replenishment of the brain's tryptophan, the histamine-operated systems will be trimmed down to their primary responsibilities, unexaggerated functions. The salt content of the body will be better regulated. The pain threshold will be raised. Acid secretion in the stomach will come under normal control. Blood pressure will be Blood pressure will be normalized to its natural levels for the operation of all functions in the body. Kidneys, brain, liver, lungs, gastrointestinal digestive activities, quote, shower head filtration of water into the nerve cells, joints, and so on will function within their normal range of activity. There is a direct relationship between walking and the buildup of the brain tryptophan reserves. There are several amino acids that compete for crossing the naturally designed barrier system into the brain. They all have to, quote, piggyback on the same transporter proteins. These competitors to tryptophan are grouped under the title the branched chain amino acids, BC amino acids. During exercise, these BC amino acids, along with the fats, are used as fuel in the larger muscles. The muscles pick up these amino acids from the circulating blood. As a result, the odds are changed in favor of tryptophan for its passage across the blood-brain barrier into the brain. One major physiological value to exercising is the direct relationship of muscle activity to the buildup of the brain tryptophan reserves. The brain tryptophan content and its various byproduct neurotransmitter systems are responsible for maintenance of the homeostatic balance of the body. Normal levels of tryptophan in the brain maintain a well-regulated balance in all functions of the body, which is meant by homeostasis. With a decrease in tryptophan supply to the brain, there is a proportionate decrease in the efficiency of all functions in the body. Depression and some mental disorders are the consequence of brain tryptophan imbalance. Prozac, used to treat mental disorders, particularly depression, is a drug that stops the enzyme that break down serotonin, a byproduct of tryptophan. When more serotonin is present, all the nerves function normally. However, Prozac cannot replace the indispensable role of tryptophan itself. One has to work One has to work at replenishing the body reserves of tryptophan through a balanced diet and a regular water intake. My research has shown there is a direct relationship between water intake, which is hemodilution, and the efficiency of function in the transport system for the passage of tryptophan into the brain. Water shortage and proportionate histamine release bring about an increase in the rate of tryptophan breakdown in the liver, not river, liver. It seems that adequate water intake arrests the increased and inefficient metabolism of tryptophan in the body. Chronic dehydration causes the loss of tryptophan from the pool of different amino acids held in the body. Tryptophan cannot be manufactured in the body. It must be imported through food intake. It is one of the essential amino acids. Thus, hydration of the body, exercise, and the intake of the right foods help replenish brain tryptophan reserves. Another important fact to remember is the idiosyncrasies that seem to operate in protein metabolism and manufacture. Proteins are manufactured from joining amino acids together. There are 20 amino acids from which different proteins are made. Each protein has a different mix of amino acids. Depending on the sequence of the mix, different characteristics are installed in each protein. Depending on the sequence and the number, the mix can function as enzymes, as assembly lines for the manufacture of other proteins, and as energy generators in the hydroelectric pump units. All functions of the body are regulated by the special properties and quote sequence characteristics of the amino acids used in enzymes and body proteins. There are eight essential amino acids that are not manufactured in the human body. They must be imported from food intake. There are three amino acids that can be manufactured, but in limited quantities. At certain times, they also become partially scarce. The other nine amino acids are amply manufactured amply manufactured within the body. If the normal percentages held in the reserve pool of amino acids in the body begin to fluctuate beyond a certain range, some amino acids are dumped, which is broken or consumed, to keep the composition of the amino acid pool within the normal range for future protein and enzyme manufacture. Of the amino acids that get dumped in stress, tryptophan seems to be one of the most important. However, one cannot consume this or that amino acid by itself to balance the pool, even if one knew all the intricate ramifications. One must consume the full range of amino acids to build the reserve pool. The precaution one can take is to eat proteins that have these amino acids in sample proportions. Some proteins, such as long exposed meat, may be deficient in some amino acids. The best proteins are those stored in the germinating seeds of plants, such as lentils, grains, and beans, as well as in eggs and milk that nature provides to produce the next generation of chickens and to feed the calf. Lentils and green beans in particular are good sources of amino acid. They contain about 28% proteins, 72% complex carbohydrates, and no oil. These types of foods are by nature better stores for provision of amino acids in apportioned amounts. After all, these foods are naturally designed to procreate a perfect replica of the species concerned. The storage of a balanced amino acid composition or as a life starter is part of the process. Oh, good to know. So lentils, green beans, grains, eggs, milk, right? Interesting. Oh, these are the type of information that I like, something that you can use. Anyways, a little squirrel there. Insulin independent diabetes should be treated with an increase in water intake, exercise, and diet manipulation to provide the necessary amino acid balance for tissue repair, including brain tissue requirements. Salt regulation should also be kept in mind. Diabetes is a good example of next generation damage that is caused by dehydration. While the onset of dehydration-induced diabetes is normally seen in the elderly and is often reversible, the more serious and structurally damaging variety of the disease is often inherited by the offspring. Juvenile diabetes needs the same approach to early preventive treatment before a permanent structural damage takes place. It should be remembered that the genetic transcription mechanism of the parents, in particular the mother, if affected by amino acid pool imbalance, will be equally represented in the offspring. In effect, this is how genetic damage and inherited disorders establish. Insulin-dependent diabetes. In insulin-dependent diabetes, the ability to produce insulin by the pancreatic cells is lost. To control diabetes, injections of insulin on a regular daily basis are essential. This condition is becoming slightly better understood. Within the process of protein breakdown to mobilize the amino acid reserves, cortisone releasing mechanism also promote the secretion of neurotransmitter called interleukin 1, IL-1. There is a magnifying effect between cortisone release mechanisms and IL-1 production. Each promotes the secretion of the other. IL-1 also promotes the secretion of another subordinate substance called IL-6. Thus, continued IL-1 production drives a simultaneous promotion of IL-6 production. It has been shown in cell cultures that IL-6 destroys the DNA structure of insulin-producing cells. These IL-6 treated cells cannot produce any more insulin. I assume and have published this view that continued dehydration and its unchecked disturbance of amino acid metabolism in the body is probably responsible for the destruction of DNA structure in the pancreas's insulin-producing beta cells. Thus, dehydration and its promotion of stress physiology may ultimately also be responsible for the emergence of insulin-dependent diabetes. Hence, the paradigm shift can scientifically explain the role of water in disease prevention and/or cure. With strict and absolutely regular daily water intake to prevent the stresses and associated damages of dehydration, tryptophan, the chief conductor and supervisor of the body's well-being, and its neurotransmitter derivatives, serotonin, tryptophan, and melatonin, will be well positioned to regulate all functions. A balanced amino acid intake in simple proteins will ensure that enough of all of them is made available to the body. Regular daily walks will keep the muscles well coordinated and will correct any physiological processes that are established in the body as a result of stress. The above three musts are the most vital and basic anti-aging precautions. So to reiterate, the three musts are drinking water, daily walks, eating. Okay. Well, I know he talks about walking a lot and hydration. So that's two. Third one may be the amino acids, like eating the lentils and the grains and all that stuff, maybe. They are essential steps to good health and a well-hydrated, healthy skin that needs water to replace what it loses to the outside environment. That is when blood vessels to the face and the body open up and provide the necessary nourishment for the exposed skin cells. When the body is well hydrated, all of the physiological and hormonal prerequisites to a satisfying sex life and more than adequate libido will be in place. In addition, 1 or 2 glasses of water before, quote, the event will help to achieving a firmer and sustained erection in men and the joys of participation in women. Wow, what a way to end the chapter. Now, for those of you who are in a relationship, sexually active, I'm just curious if you want to do an experiment. There's an experiment for you. Drink 2 glasses of water before the activity and see what happens. Well, I'd be interested to know if any of you take up that challenge and leave a comment in the comment below and let us know if it works, if it doesn't. You know, uh, we don't need details. Just, the summary is fine. Anyways, well, I hope you enjoyed that. We will continue our reading next week with a new chapter. In the meantime, I hope you guys all have a great day, great evening, great afternoon, wherever you guys are, and a great week. All right, stay safe out there. Bye bye.